Today's webinar is about QR code registration. We would like to show you how easy it can be when it comes to registering iOS and Android devices in mobile iron using a QR code. The session lasts about 30 minutes. Please notice that during the presentation, your microphones will be set to mute. You may post questions during the session through the chat function to the host. The questions will then be answered by James at the end of the session. Now I'd like to hand over to James. Please, James.
Well, thank you very much, Nadine, for that kind introduction, and welcome everybody this afternoon for this Nomasis webinar. Let's move on straight away with a short, let's say, summary of what we're going to be going over today. So the QR code registration and the ease of use and so forth kind of fits in a rather larger context, really, of of how to empower users in different kinds of ways, and to help them to improve and feel better about, you know, how they work and what they do. I'll explain a few of those those details just a bit afterwards, and then of course we'll get to the different aspects of how to set up QR registration, the benefits, including a demonstration and a little bonus bit of information before the Q&A session. So, as I was saying, context-wise, happy end users make your business more productive. I mean, generally speaking, if somebody is happy with a service, whether that's technically speaking with their devices, their computers, we're talking, you know, of course this applies to all sorts of areas within the workplace, but here of course we're referring specifically to IT and mobile related features, but still, a happy user that has a easygoing time using the equipment and services they're given, who can rely on efficient support when they need it, can be self-reliant if they need to, and have all these services offered to them, in most cases, you know, will make IT not a part of the dreaded aspects of work, but actually the tool that is designed to help them improve their efficiency and their general well-being at work. Let's put it that way. So of course, this improves the image that IT services, mobility services convey, can greatly help in this respect. And of course, here it has to be a mix of, you know, well-timed communication, clear guidance, service, you know, support services that are readily online, easily reachable, etc. And these kind of things, generally speaking, make the whole experience much better for both, you know, both the service provider, let's say, or supporting teams, and the actual, you know, business end on the user side. And our experience as Nomasis with you know, advising our customers as to how to best approach all these different things has definitely borne a lot of, you know, borne a lot of fruit and positive reactions from all levels of employees within an organization or company, all the way up to the highest levels. And this kind of visibility that you have when you do provide such ease of use with your systems and such reactive and efficient responses to support questions, etc., really comes across quite clearly, and the feedback is extremely positive, which in the end benefits everyone, right? Because management will notice and see and witness themselves that you have an efficient and supportive group of people who can do better next time even. So for all kinds of larger scale projects and things like that, this is, I think, is a very important aspect of it. A small aspect of all that is the subject of our webinar this afternoon, which is the QR code registration. of devices into mobile iron. Of course, this type of thing could be used with other EMM systems, of course, and it could be adapted differently, but we'll focus on mobile iron in this case here. Now, of course, to get the QR code to the users, you will have to provide all the information they need, including the QR code in the registration email that you send out. Of course, there are many different ways to register users. There are self-service portals. Sometimes mobile iron registration is integrated into larger systems like ServiceNow or things like that. Intranet requests. It's all, maybe the help desks provides the registration links and so forth. But regardless, the registration email invitations that you send out in mobile iron can be fully to a certain extent, but they can be very much customized to your own needs. So not only visually speaking can you customize the mail with your logo, for example, naturally the QR code in question, which we'll get to in a second, but also you can put links in there to, let's say, self-help guides. Again, I'm saying here in the second point, the compliance notification, for example, if a device hasn't checked into mobile iron for a certain number of days, most security policies will will be set so that the system sends out a warning to a user via email to please rectify the compliance problem and solve that issue. Now, in the standard mail that comes out, of course, there's no indication or link to any kind of online user guide or specific information about your own help desk, contact information, and so forth. All this can be edited and made to reflect better on the services you provide, and to, of course, provide some kind of consistent look, branded, let's say, for your organization. And this is not an amazing example of what can be done, but you can see here that we see Nomasis AG is using blah, blah, blah. We have the QR code there that's inserted into the registration email. I've put a bogus help desk number at the bottom there, but that could be a link to, let's say, a document on a SharePoint site, for example, that explains to a user how to fix a particular problem, if this were to be a compliance mail, but in this case, it's the registration mail. So the QR code's there. 2-3 steps, the user is enrolled in mobile iron. Basically, this is an example for an Android device. So just by using the camera to scan the QR code, you go straight to the Google Play Store, immediately to the page with the mobile iron client, mobile at work. You tap on install, enter the information that you see there, server address, username, password. Again, here, the information that you require for a user to register a device depends on the settings you have in your core. Okay, it can be only a PIN, it can be username, password and PIN, or and that type of combination of different bits of information that you need to register. We'll see later on in the example within the iOS device that we're only requiring a registration PIN, for example. So talking of iOS, an extra benefit of using this type of registration is that we can streamline the process to a point where a user won't even need an Apple ID to have all the business apps installed. Okay, in the screenshot here, you see that for the mobile iron mobile at work client, we have license labels, right, which is labeled to iOS, which is for all iOS devices that register. But upon registration, the client will be installed automatically using the corporate Apple ID. This corporate Apple ID is linked to the VPP account that you have to have set up within the core. So VPP is Apple's volume purchase program. As the name implies, it allows companies with their corporate Apple ID to actually purchase apps that they can then distribute to their users in the case that the apps require payment. but naturally this can also be used for free apps, which is the case for the Mobile client. But as you'll see in the example, in the demonstration a bit later, is that we can go through the whole registration process from a device that was basically from the box and have all business applications installed with absolutely minimal user intervention, all completely automated. And I think you'll see that the demonstration proves that quite decisively. As far as requirements and effort required, what do we need for this? As I said, the Apple VPP program is needed in order to be able to install all the apps, the business apps that we want to install, without requiring the user to use their personal Apple ID, of course. Then, of course, preparing the format and content you want to display, that's as I explained, personalizing, putting in your own links to your support services and or other types of information that you wish to share with your users. Create the QR code. All this has to be done, of course, depending on your environment, right? The name of your Mobile server, etc., can be set in that QR code. To make sure that these images, whether it's your company logo or the QR code itself, an actual image file, are publicly available, as in they're available from the internet in order for users to receive them. And then something also that could be of interest in the trust center settings of Outlook or Exchange or whichever mail system you're using, it's probably a good idea to maybe make an exception for to automatically download image files from a trusted source. Otherwise, that does require user intervention, which kind of goes against the whole idea of the thing. Of course, Nomasis is more than happy to help you set this type of thing up, or to advise you, consult on this type of implementation, and you just have to get in touch with us, I guess, to organize that. So let's go to the demonstration. I think it's better than me just explaining it. Let's see here. I received my mail to register a device. Maybe I was in ServiceNow. I ordered mobile services for my iOS device. I received this email here. And here we go for the demonstration. So you can even see that I'm opening the camera. So here we go. This is the mail we just saw. I have a website QR code there that I tap on to open in Safari. Immediately, you see, branded Mobile with our server name at the top there. I enter the registration PIN that I received in the registration mail. Of course, this could be username and password too. Okay, that's depending on how you set it up. The profile's downloaded. It tells you where to go. So this is something that you have to do in iOS, unfortunately. It does require some intervention there since iOS 12. Profile downloaded, but it is still rather self-explanatory what you need to do. Just keep following the prompts until the profile's installed. Trust, of course, rolling, and then it's done. So once it's done, I come out of my settings. I'll switch to the next page, and you'll see immediately Apps at Work is appearing. So Apps at Work, that is the enterprise app portal, enterprise store, sorry, app store. And immediately I'm receiving a series of installation pop-ups here, which I simply have to accept and install. There's quite a bunch of, in our case, of apps that we use to do these demos. And last but not least, it will prompt us to install the actual Mobile client, Mobile at Work. Okay, so the usual step of asking users to have to install go to the App Store, use their own Apple ID to download the Mobile at Work app in order to get registered. All this process is now moot, is now unnecessary. You see, if I open Mobile at Work now, as soon as it's been installed on the device, I will get a couple of pop-ups, of course, with notifications and location services. And then it'll simply verify that my registration is okay, that the device is okay, is compliant, and everything's in order on that side. and then we should see now that it's connected in compliance with the check-in time. In our case, we have mobile threat defense enabled as well. But that's it. That's it. All the apps needed by the user are installed. There was no Apple ID prompts. All they had, or in my case here, all I had to do was enter the registration PIN, and that was it. Okay, QR code, registration PIN, and everything set up. So, in my opinion, I think that demonstrates that that the process is quite a simple one, and you know, from the user perspective, quite impressive to see that all that can happen automatically. We've used this type of thing in the context of migrations and things like that, or even rolling out new systems, and with proper preparation of supporting material, well-designed enrollment procedure, and so forth, the user experience is vastly enhanced. Little extra piece of information I wanted to give you here about the whole registration process and how you may wish to empower users to manage their devices in a more self-reliant way. I don't know how many of you perhaps use the Mobile Iron User Portal, which is an inbuilt feature of Mobile Iron, but this allows users to, as you see, manage their devices. So this is the iPhone I registered earlier on, of which you saw that in the demo. And you can see here, depending on the options that you select, I can retire the device here. On the right-hand side, I can request a registration PIN. For example, if I wanted to register an iPad, for example, I could do it immediately from here. Of course, you can put limits on the number of devices that users have and so forth. But all that can be discussed in detail further on. But this can also alleviate perhaps your support services if from these types of requests if users can actually manage it themselves. So that's just a suggestion for everyone. Okay, well, it won't be much longer. There's not that much more to say. I mean, of course, if you have any questions about setting this up, please get in touch with us. We'd be more than glad to answer. And if you have any questions, please fire away. And another thing, we have some other webinars on our YouTube site, which may be of interest to you. The links here, you can always check those out and discover some of the niceties there. So that's it as far as I'm concerned. Nadine, do you have any questions for me?
Thank you very much, James. There was one question, but Patrick already answered it, and it was what happens when an update for one of the apps is out? Does the user not need to have the enterprise Apple ID to install the update?
No.
Exactly, Patrick already said no, he doesn't, because the managed apps and also their updates will be pushed with the configured Apple VPP Apple ID.
Exactly.
And the second question is, how many different platforms do you need for that?
Different platforms. Not sure. You don't need any more platforms. I mean, if you're talking about the QR code and that aspect of it, and the customized registration emails, all these features are inbuilt into Mobile Iron Core. So, I mean, it's not much platforms that you need. You just need a bit of ingenuity, you know, changing HTML code and things like that, and being able to adapt templates. It's a question of basic preparation of the content is the most important. The actual execution and technical aspect of it is a different subject, but you don't require any platform. The only thing that you would need really is a place where you can host the image file, so the QR code image file and maybe a company logo or whatever other type of file you want to embed within the registration email. They can be hosted on the core as well, because the core has a public-facing area that's available to the internet, so that can be used as well. Now, that's something we can discuss technically, but it doesn't require any setup of any additional servers, platforms, or anything else. It's all basically inbuilt into the core. I hope that answers the question. Maybe I misunderstood.
Yes, thank you very much. As there are no further questions at the moment, we will end the webinar at this point.
Okay.
Oh, I see that someone says at the moment I need 3 platforms for all without the QR code. So that was the comment on the question about the platforms. So
You're talking about mobile platforms? I'm not sure.
maybe it is easier if you quickly unmute yourself to discuss the platform.
I didn't have
No,
the
it's me.
courage. I didn't
Sorry,
have the
yeah.
courage. Okay.
Can you hear me?
As
Yes.
far as I understood, Renate meant how many servers you need to do this, correct?
Actually, I make this already for the people at our work, and at the moment it's like web platforms. I need to log in 3 different web applications to get everything ready. So this was my question. It's maybe possible that I just need 2. It's like one is the Apple Business Manager I need, and then I need from the company who is supporting us, and then I need also the mobile iron, also from the company who is supporting us.
Okay.
It's like 3.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was asking myself, it's maybe it gives a way to make it also easier, that I don't need 3 different.
Okay, the second one you said, of course, that depends how you're set up in your company, but you need the Apple Business Manager definitely, and you need the mobile iron core. Yeah, that's
okay. So at least 2.
correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Business Manager and VPP, the Apple VPP will be a one-time setup.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
You're
you,
welcome.
Renat. Another question from Flavio. Where can I find the documentation to set up the registration with QR code and Apple VPP? This is not an official solution. This is a solution developed by Nomasis AG, and you can approach us if you're interested to implement it.
Correct.
So there is no official documentation about it.
No.
Perfect. Now I think if that's all of the questions, we will end this webinar. If you have any further information or if you need any further information on this topic, please contact us at any time. And thank you all for joining and have a nice evening.
Thank you very much.